is the Roxanne Norco?
And of course you'll remember that when she spilled 1 million gallons of crude off Pensacola, thanks to you, not one fat cat saw a day in court.
What do you want from me?
Nothing, sir. I just needed a reason to kill you that would play well on TV.
I think a lot of people don't comprehend how important media is in our lives, and I'm not just saying that because I study media theory in university and I'm tossing myself off, but on a basic level, how we perceive the world is from the information we're provided, and we model our ways of thought from individuals we consider authorities, who arrange them in ways we find convincing, or if we're bombarded with an idea long enough, we tend to just accept it. In Iron Man 3, there's a fascinating mantra that the movie opens with: we create our own demons. It doesn't just summarize Tony's emotional obstacle of PTSD, but it also establishes the film's proclamation that society itself also constructs its own villains.
Just a role. The Mandarin, see, it's not real.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is sort of fascinating in the way that some of the films without fear take political and social topics as a platform for its drama and discussion. Winter Soldier dealt with the relationship between surveillance culture and political ideologies, while Civil War examined the toxic relationship with how irrational emotions divides our politics up. But Iron Man 3, out of this gigantic mosaic of films and characters, is the most direct and confrontational with its topic matter of American politics, because unlike the other films, the superhero aspect is at service to its examination.
This is the Mandarin?
I know, it's embarrassing.
Hi, Trevor Slattery.
The Mandarin reveal, which for better or worse, the big thing that everyone remembers from the film, in a lot of ways encapsulate Iron Man 3's goals, which is to scrutinize the growing disparity with the reality we're presented and the real world. We all want a villain to fight because it's comforting and satisfying, but in this situation we're forced to face this established tradition as something having becoming outdated. It's an old interaction in a new landscape. Jean Baudrillard once said that the Gulf War never took place, which made a lot of people angry, but what he meant was that the social impact of war is not what it should be, because in the age of mass media and technological advancements with surveillance, instead of remembering sobering images of mass death from airstrikes, we remember the more comfortable distant images of the numbers and indistinguishable figures on a monitor, and this change has made war more comfortable in the modern life. For better or worse, it's been normalized. Iron Man 3 isn't a perfect film, but it's got a really fascinating investigation at the core of it, because it confronts the consequences of this new America. Mandarin is a villain on the news, but just an actor in real life, while the real villain is a man who profits from this dominating industry, which highlights a new American political economy, an uneven displacement between democracy and plutocracy. I don't want to get conspiratorial or sound like I'm trying to promote an agenda, but an example of where Iron Man 3's corner of ideas are neglected details. Like, did you know back in 2017, $175 billion was spent on the fight overseas, but statistically you're still more likely to win the lottery than to be a victim of terrorism? Shocking, I know, but war, man, what a dependable industry. I mean, Killian's entire plan and the whole movie is to generate war and conflict through presenting a logical and convincing narrative, not to further an ideology, but because that's where he makes his money and can gain further national influence. He sort of is a perfect embodiment of one half of modern America, and Tony represents the other half. Iron Man is a sucker to impulsive heroism, and his childlike sense of egoic self-confidence hides his insecure and emotional difficulties, which as a result makes him a fool. He bravely declares a one-man war against terrorism, but it backfires so badly that he loses his home, and all because there is an apparent incompatibility between all traditional direct responses of pointing at the problem, because the problem itself is no longer transparent in its construction. We're living in a postmodern world now, where our ideas of reality is slowly dissipating from the unstoppable wheel of progress from late capitalism, and society is seemingly trying to keep up as much as it can, and this is most apparent with America. Speaking as a Brit, North America is like this bizarre circus that is both hilarious and infuriating to look at, because compared to the mutual sense of calm, accepted nihilism of British news culture, everything is just so insane and hyperbolic. The discussion of war isn't taken seriously, and for some reason can actually be promoted on TV. Late night comedians are promoting hysteria. Common sense and respect for others are thrown away, because any topic can be appropriated as a means to discuss toxic politics. And all the way over here in British news, we have this.
Would
you apologise for your comment?
Will you have a cup of tea?
Will you apologise for your
Would
comment?
you like a cup of tea?
But this goes to show that there is a new growing responsibility for us as individuals to react to the loudest dominant discussions with skepticism. Iron Man 3 envisions a similar struggle of the modern mind, where to unravel a gigantic conspiracy is the equivalent for self-actualization, to solve the little individual problems like a lonely sense of self-inadequacy or self-imposed assured isolation is to ignore the voices of others and look at details on your own. What changes Tony at the end is his own change in his self-identity. Being Iron Man isn't the suit, but is the mechanical mind that lives inside it, and it can bloom just as well outside. Liberation isn't preserving aspirations in victory or old notions of success, but in discarding those conceptual foundations within ourselves. Individualism is the antidote to collective insanity, because to be exposed to constant hysteria would only make you grow mad if you don't remodel your perspective of the world by yourself. Everything is like Tony Stark's arc reactor. It preserves his life, but it keeps the sense of imminent danger in his heart all the time. But to be free is to finally remove it. We create our own demons because we need to project our problems into something or someone else instead of seeking to fix ourselves, and so we must slay our demons with our own paths that abandon these outdated notions. Iron Man 3 didn't necessarily get a good rap when it came out, but I think with time it'll be re-examined as a standout from the massive cinematic Marvel empire, because it's like a sociological fairy tale, an active deconstruction of American society while holding some very strong convictions. But unfortunately it's undercut from the movie's bizarre obligation to have almost every line be a joke, so it's a little bit less poignant. So yeah, it's alright.